Alright, when you're ready, please introduce yourself, introduce the run, give me a countdown for the timer, and we'll get started.
Alright, well, I'm Yak, and I've been running this game for about a year and a half. And this is Flock. It's a creature collecting indie game. Right. Ah, okay. I didn't know that was a problem. That should be fine. Right, so timer starts as soon as I click solo game. So I'll give a countdown. 3, 2, 1. There we are. And I'm immediately spamming my A button because what we want to do here is we want to skip some of the dialogue that opens in the game. And you can skip about half of it by spamming the A button in the loading screen. And the early game is a lot of spamming the A button to get through the dialogue. And then what we want to do here is we want to identify 3 creatures. This one is a glebe. The Gallus glebe. And you've got to find a name for it, and the little icon pops up, and it's never in the same place. So there we got quite lucky because it's quite near the top, so it saves a little bit of time. And the next one is a cosmet here. And it's the same deal with this one. You just gotta find where the name is, and then move on to the next one. This is the yellow tip. This is like... This area here is most of the creatures we're gonna have to identify for the run. So you don't need to identify many of them. And this is a basking mule. We got quite lucky with all of these here. And now we need to go to the sheep in order to get the whistle to tame more mules and complete this section of the run. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't fast enough to get the fast cycle on this whistle, so we've gone for a slower one, but that usually saves a few seconds. And now we go back to this bit of concrete where these guys are. And we've got to line ourselves up in order to tame them. If I don't, he'll run away and I need to go get another one. Now we'll go back to Jane over here.
Just a quick thing, I think your mic might be peaking a bit. I know I mentioned before for you to move a little bit closer, but it might be worthwhile just to move a little bit further away.
Is that better now?
Let me have a listen.
This here is the Emperor Cosmet, and this is the boss creature that we have to tame in the next part from. As you can see here, I can actually move my camera during this cutscene, which helps me line it up for the next move.
I think that's better now, yeah.
Now we're following a very set line here in order to manipulate the spawn of where this next sheep is. We're going to need these guys to get the pastures to get the whistle. Now I can go over here so I can still actually move during this cutscene. I can get to my destination quicker. Otherwise, this will just lock you in place. If you go over these clouds, it moves you forward. And now, I'm going to perform the first major trick of the run, known as speedy grass. Where every 2 times that this sheep eats the grass, we pick him up and we put him back down, and this overall saves about 30 seconds. So unfortunately we'll be here for the next couple of minutes doing this. And as you can see, I know I've done the trick correct when I get like... Oh, gotta get through this first, I've got to farm through this. But if it says collect sheep after you've picked it up and dropped it off, you've done it right. And if it says drop off, I've done it too slow. And if he starts eating again, I've done it too fast. It's a very precise trick. And sometimes that dialogue gets in the way, but it doesn't matter too much.
Oh.
And we're doing this to get the whistle for the cosmet. So we can tame the Emperor Cosmet as soon as we leave here. And then we can trigger the next level, basically. There's not too much to talk about during this. As you can see, I did the trick a little slow now. We're very nearly done with this part now. Quite a chill part of the run, but there just is not much to say at all. I can pick this guy up before it ends, and then we can leave here with the whistle. And we're off to find Cosmet. I was very lucky there that no groups spawned in, because if they did, I'd have to menu out and menu back in in order to despawn them. Like those guys that just flew past me, they can sometimes spawn around the pasture and they can mess up how your sheep eats. Now we go up on here to get a good vantage point to find the Cosmet, and he is spawned over here. We can spawn in like, I think 8 different places. This one isn't too bad. As far as I remember, I can go back here and pick my sheep up and then go follow the Cosmet again. I haven't got this cycle in a while. I have to be very careful to not go out of its range, because otherwise he'll spawn back in, which is something we don't want. As you can see, it's over here. Depending on where he spawns, he will go to the same place every single time. You just need to memorize every single cycle. Now we can tame the star. If I do this correctly, I should get him in 2 tries, which I do. Sometimes I don't do it correctly and I get him in 3. And now we can perch again and trigger the next cloud ball. Just over 9 minutes. Now I'm going to boost cancel here and I can spin around and pick up this sheep. Then we need to go over here and identify this residue in order to spawn in the next boss creature. Throughout the run, spawning in the boss creatures gets a lot harder. So we've developed a very specific route in order to get the fastest residues. In order to spawn it in the fastest, but also get the sheep along the way. So if I did this route correctly, the sheep should spawn there, but he hasn't, so I need to do a backup and go over here. Now he's spawned in. And that's the second to last sheep we'll get for the run, actually. We only need 4 instead of the intended 5. Because we tried routing 5 into the run at one point, but it seemed a bit too slow. So every runner does 4 sheep now. Now we're going to identify a few more of these residues. Then we're going to come back to the sheep and get the skyfish whistle, which we need for later. This final boss creature is a skyfish. This next one is a rustic. And we will get that whistle after we get the skyfish. I'm taking a very specific route of these boost pods, which give you a bit of extra speed, and saves a bit of time. Another boost pad right there. Now I've got to be careful not to go through these, because these will actually lose me time. And now after this last residue here, we need to report back to James. So this is why the route is the way it is. Because we can just fly over here and go straight back to the water towers where Jane is. And we skip through like 3 boxes of dialogue, I think it is. And then we go straight back to where our sheep are.
Hey!
And as you can see here, I can actually press Y to find out where my sheep are if I lose them.
Wow!
And that menuing there shows us that we've just spawned in the next boss creature. I did a very micro time save there where I overlapped picking up the sheep with triggering this cutscene. Saved like 1 second. It's very inconsistent to pull off. I'm surprised I got it. And now we're going to do almost the same route that we did, just to get the residues. But instead of this time, we're going to put our sheep on the pasture to get the rustic whistle. Then after this we need to identify some scales to fully spawn in this rustic. And then we get a bit of RNG again with how it spawns, because there's 4 paths it can take, and they each vary in speed.
Oh! Oh?
We've identified all these scales, and then he'll spawn in about here. And if he goes all the way over here to the right, that is the slowest cycle, and if he goes over here, it's one of 3 other cycles. So we'll see what he does.
Hey!
Okay, this is one of the faster cycles. If it goes to the tree, it's the fastest. If it goes up here, it's the 3rd fastest. If it goes over here, it's the 2nd fastest. But we have got the fastest cycle. This is very good. This saves 22 seconds over the slowest cycle. We've actually had pretty good RNG on this one so far. And he spawns here, if I remember rightly. And then he'll go over here. And then after this, he goes to those trees over there, the pink trees.
Hey.
And then he goes to the pasture. I think overall this sequence takes about like 1:20. Now we've got to go to the pasture. Then we've got to put our sheep on another pasture like we did when we were getting the Cosmo. Because this allows more sheep to spawn in. So without the 2 smaller pastures, only 2 sheep will initially spawn in. We need to put one on here while we identify the rustic.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Oh.
We're just spamming through this. Button mashing as much as we can in order to get through it as fast as we can. And now we need to tame this guy. Usually takes 3. I think it's possible to do it in 2, but I don't think I've ever done it. It's very difficult. Yeah, and I haven't pressed A there because that can happen. I can accidentally pick up a creature instead of picking up my sheep. So that's a bit of a safety play right now. And now I'm going to go over this here. Because there's a slight bug in the game where if you go over a boost pad and then go down a slope, you carry a bunch of momentum. And now this is the next cloud fall, and we need to take a very specific line over a bridge in order to spawn the next sheep. We go down here, over this bridge, and then this guy spawns in right here. And if I'm very lucky, I'll be able to get to this boost pad before I get locked in place. But I just about missed it. And then we'll go over here and get the sprug whistle, because we need to tame sprugs, all these crystal sprugs. There's 5 different ones of different colours. And we need to tame all 5 of them in order to spawn in the final boss creature, which is the skyfish. And there's also a lot of RNG with the skyfish, because there's 5 different places he can go to, and he goes to 2, and then he goes to a set 1 at the end. So the first 2 are completely random.
Oh.
And then as soon as they eat that, we can pick that up, and it speeds it up. And now after this, we'll have tamed the sprug whistle. Obtained. I can't speak today. So now we're going to take a very specific route in order to go fast. Most of the time save for this game comes from new routes. I think the biggest time save in a year is a new one that I've implemented recently, and it's just a slight route change, and it saves about 5 seconds. So, got 2 down, 3 to go. I almost missed that boost back. And now if we come at a specific angle, we can actually just pick this guy straight up. So if you go at a different angle, you actually trigger the other creatures right next to it. Which you don't want to do. Now we're going back to the little mushroom cave where we were, where the pasture was. And we can trigger the cutscene to spawn in the sky. And this cutscene you can actually move in. So after he's done his ball, we can actually move and go to the first place where he spawns in, if I'm lucky. We're going to bank on him spawning in the closest place to this cave.
Oh.
It's this way. And he does spawn in here. So that's very lucky. And if we're really lucky, we get the fastest possible path, which is what I'm going to go for. He spawns here, we're very lucky. Fortunately, he has not. But he has spawned pretty close, so this is still quite good. Yeah, and going through those is a bit of a time loss. I did try to avoid it, but sometimes that happens. And now Skyfish will always spawn here as his last place. And then this will trigger a bit of dialogue. We'll tame him, and then we'll head back and trigger the final cloud pool.
Oh.
Ooh.
Oi.
Do you have time for a very quick donation?
Why not?
Yeah, well, we've got Celtic Trinculo, Damien, who is one of the moderators or one of the administrators of InstaSpeedathon, with a £5 donation with the message "Drink water." So
I will right after this run.
you have our assurances, Damien, that we will indeed be drinking water, or in my case, it'll be water infused with tea leaves from the great tea plantations of Yorkshire. And it goes also towards the incentive Hidden Palace Detour and the poll character choice in The Lord of the Rings for Aragorn. So that's currently the Hidden Palace Detour for the Sonic Origins plus Sonic 2 Knuckles Any Percent run. The Hidden Palace Detour, so that's now a £5 out of 50. And The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, Legolas Easy by Nick RP Green. The character selection between Aragorn and Legolas. Aragorn has £5, Legolas has 0. So if you'd like to see those incentives, or if you want to change that poll decision to be something completely different, then be sure to get your donations in and to donate to those as well. There are plenty of incentives and polls available on the page. But thank you, Damien, for that donation, and keep those donations coming in, everybody.
Very cool. Glad to see we're getting donations. Also, I just did a couple things right there while that was going on. I did a technique dubbed Fast Goober by my friend, and what that is that is the routing change that saves about 5 seconds. So after the Skyfish, we go over a couple boost paths, and we get to the water tower slightly quicker. And then after that, after we triggered the last cloud fall, I did the momentum glitch going over the boost pad and going down a little valley.
Hey.
And that, like, gets you a lot of speed.
Hey.
We'll do another one of those right at the end of the run. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try and be as close as possible to where this view will land. Because as soon as you get to him, he will fly off. And if you go exactly where he spawns in, he'll fly off as soon as he gets to you. But I haven't completely mapped the place. And now we're going to identify this bag.
Whoa.
And we're going to go back to the waterfalls. And I failed the bug. I went too far left, unfortunately. And right here is time. It's a 26:13, I believe. So
That was time, sorry, yeah?
yeah, that's time. That is
Okay, yeah. Can I change that to 30? No, I can't. Never mind. Yeah, so 26:17 is what I've got, because I think your time came up a bit quick for me, and then I
yeah, no, that's fine.
lost a couple of seconds there. Right then. Ooh, we have some Twitch messages. Hang on a minute, let's have a look. So someone was mentioning that you were quite quiet. We might have to have a look at that sometime because the run is now over.
Yeah.
But thanks for mentioning that, Dan. It is.
Yeah.
It's a little bit difficult to do audio balancing sometimes, but we'll have a look at that for next time if we have ExpressYak, of course.
Yeah.
I just pinned the message by mistake. That's not what I wanted to do. There we go. If we have you on again at another event, we'll have to have a look at that possibly for some other time.
It's a little inconsistent.
Yes. So as far as that goes, we don't have any new donations in since that one, I don't think. Let me just double check. No, we don't. But yeah, so we will now be going over to our next one. So its page will be back with us, with the LA Noire Terrific Percent with skips, which will be taking place in about 15 minutes time. So we will be going over to that in a moment. We'll go over to the intermission screen, but don't forget, of course, we are doing this as a charity event for Everyone Can. If you would like to donate, type !donate in the chat on Twitch, on YouTube. There is a link down in the description below, but also myself and Damien are moderating the YouTube chat as well, and we might post a link every so often in there for anyone else's convenience. So, what was I going to say again? I don't remember. Yeah, so don't forget to get those donations in. There are incentives and polls available on there. There is actually an incentive for a run that's coming up very soon. So in about 2 hours' time, we will be having the golf with your grandmother run, which is going to be taking place at about 4:25. There is an incentive for that called the Add Extra Holes incentive. Currently, it's on £0 out to £50. But if anybody would like to see that particular incentive be met, then be sure to put your donation towards it. It does not cost any extra to add a donation incentive to your run. Basically, all that happens is whatever total you donate, that amount gets added to the incentive, and the added bonus is the money goes to charity. So it'll help everyone can out so much as well. Obviously, following the terms and conditions on the donation page, we do retain 10% of all donations. But you can also add that to your donation if you want as well. And that 10% cut that we take is just to help us cover costs for running these events, because there is a cost, sadly, to running these events, and we do need to be able to cover those costs as well. So please be sure to keep those donations coming in. The current running total that we will be donating at the end of InstaSpeedathon to everyone can so far stands at £29.50. So please keep those donations coming in, and we'll hopefully have a really nice donation total to everyone can at the end of the event. So before we go over to the intermission screen, ExpressYak, do you have any final things you'd like to say before we finish?
No, not really. Just thanks for having me. It's been very fun.
No problem at all. Well, thank you very much for taking part, and we'll see you again soon.